Hello and welcome back to episode 4 of the Tips and Tricks series. In today's episode, I slightly changed my mind. I'm going to switch it up. In the previous episode, I mentioned toward the end of the episode that episode 4 would consist of me doing online racing and talking about racecraft and bits and pieces like that. Now, I did change my mind slightly because when I went to record that, I got into an online lobby where either automatic gears was turned on or it glitched out and I couldn't use manual gears. Now I don't know which it was because I have a terrible habit of never looking at the lobby settings when I join a lobby. I'm more focused on picking a bike and kind of get my recording set up. So I got into it, took off, and it was on semi-automatic. Now that was terrible because I couldn't ride with it, and it's very bad because it just changes gears very badly for you. It cuts in, changes gear when you don't need to. You can't use the gears the right way that the real riders would use it. So in this video I'm going to basically give a best demonstration I can of why you should run manual gears, how to run manual gears, and just some tips and tricks and pointers to get ahead. So first off, we're going into riding aids and I'm going to show you how to turn it on. So you look at transmission. Now there is no automatic, it's semi-automatic. What it means by semi-automatic is it will change gear, but if you want to change up or down a gear, so if you feel like you want an extra gear, you can change it. But a lot of times, it doesn't say it there, a lot of times the bike will want to change back. When you have a semi-automatic gearbox, it doesn't want to be told what to do, it'll tell you what's best. Now, what I've run since I've run it for the last 7 years, I'd say, is manual gears. I run on every game. I cannot play a game with automatic gears because my right thumb doesn't know what to do with himself. He gets lost. Even though it's on automatic, I keep changing gears and the bike jumps up and down gears because the bike fights my gear changes. So we're going to jump on track now as Petrucci, and I'm going to give you a few tips. So the main parts of manual gears will be describing in this video are short shifting, how I use the rev limiter to my advantage, and I'm going to show you how and when you should change. So I'm going to start off explaining what short shifting is. Short shifting is changing gears before the bike would naturally change up. So through the chicane is a good example here. I come in first, just I change direction, I short shift to second, just to stop the wheelie coming out of there. Now I'm going to just do it again. I'm going to restart the lap just because it's good to be able to show you again. So as I change direction, so changing gears in between corners is a great way of short shifting. So come in at first, if this is a hot lap, I'd flick it right, change up to second. It dulls the revs. So what I mean by dulling the revs is it lowers the revs overall. And when the revs are lowered, you've less power because you're not in peak power. So when you're not in peak power, you've less power going to the rear wheel, which you have less worry about wheel spin and also wheelie. So when you have the two of these, you can be a bit more aggressive when you have less power and less chance of wheelie. Now in the next couple of corners I'll show, if you want to change the way you brake into a corner, you can when you have manual gears on. It's a great way of changing your riding style, because with the AI doing the changing of the gears when it's on semi-automatic, the AI will change gear at the exact same time every time. Now you won't have any say in it, even though it's semi-automatic. If you change gear, it'll 9 times out of 10 it'll change it back a couple of seconds later. You'd see coming up to this braking zone here now, I'm going to hit the limiter in 5th and then I'm going to tip in when I hit the limiter. Just there, touch the limiter, I hit the perfect apex. That was the AI. If I was running with or automatic gears, the AI rider would have shifted up to 6. I would have tipped in too late, ran wide, but then too high of a gear, and I would have been slower through there. Now if you're running automatic gears, you're never going to know anything like that. You'll never have these little insider tricks to help you get through corners. Now this corner here now, it's going to rewind it again. I'm going to take it in 2 different ways. I'm going to take it in second, so I'll explain why you want to take it in second. So if I was in second, just about there, the AI probably would downshift for me because I'm in lower revs. But you can see I just hold a nice long line around there, and having a kind of a higher gear through a longer corner, you've again lower revs, kind of dulling the revs, which means you've less power going to the rear wheel on the edge of the tyre, which is better because you can get better traction. But now another way I could do it is do it like this, and then I'm going to short shift to third. So I'm coming in first, get tight early, and go run it wide, a lot of throttle, third, and drift it all around and get a late apex there, and that's another way. If I have automatic gears on, you ride that corner the same way every lap. You don't have a choice. So it really frees up the way you can ride. It really changes. You can really customize the way you ride a bike. It's brilliant for being able to change your riding style between going for a hot lap and racing. Now, when you have manual gears on, you have to put the bike into gear on the grid. Now, I know I kind of started backwards, but I'm just going to explain the basics to you of how you do it, how you change gear. Now, if you're on a race, you can see it kind of has a soft limiter. Revs out, and if you change into gear, it'll simulate a race start. That's what's just like off the line. It won't rev over a certain point when the bike is stopped. Now, to change gear, it is X and B. So when I come to a full stop, I'll be able to put the bike into neutral by pressing X and into first gear by pressing B. Now, if I wanted to ride around the lap in 6th gear everywhere, now it's going to be quite slow obviously, I could do it. You have the customizable options of riding in any gear you want. If you want to take a higher gear through a corner, you can do it. Now, this episode is going to be slightly shorter just because it's a bit more basic. It's not as in-depth as any other, it's not as big of a series as braking or any other of the physics or setups. There's not as much to it. But it is night and day quicker if you can run manual gears. So I'm just going to show you once again here this sector here where I come into this corner in first gear, and I'm going to just use the rev limiter in 5th just to hit the apex, just to show you it wasn't a fluke. So just coming up here, just touching the limiter there, turning in, hit the apex. It's obviously not foolproof, but it's a very good marker because when you're doing 5th gear there, it's probably about 180 miles an hour. It can be hard when you're trying to look for a small little marker. You have an audible marker, you know when the bike's about to hit 5th gear, so you know just when it's about to hit it. We'll same again here. I'm going to take it in 2nd and just show I wanted to turn in here. Now the bike could probably downshift if that was manual, automatic even. I can run it wide, stay in 2nd, pick up an early throttle and drift it around there. Whereas if it changed down to 1st, it made the bike kind of unsettled on the edge of the tyre, and when I changed back up, it would have pushed wide. I would have lost my line, lost probably 2 or 3 tenths, and that's my lap. If I was on a hot lap, it would have been completely gone, scrapped. So yeah, that is pretty much it. There's not much to it. You'll have to practice this a lot though. It isn't easy to get used to because you're pressing X and B a lot during every braking zone, every time you come out of a corner, sometimes in between corners, short shifting. There's just so much to it, to actually getting familiar with pressing the buttons. Once you get up to speed, you'll understand what I'm saying, like how you can use the rev limiter to enter corners, you can rev limiter to slow the bike down. It changes your whole riding ability and the way you can ride. So I'm going to leave today's episode there for now. I'll have another episode up within the next week or so, and that will be on what should have been today's one of the online one. In the online one, I'll have my live reaction, as I'll do a live climb of probably 3 online races where I'll describe and I'll tell you live at the time what I'm thinking and what I'm trying to do with the rider in front of me, rider behind my racecraft tool. Basically, I'll be telling everyone what I'm thinking and how I'm assessing the situation. So if you have any questions at all, feel free to pop a comment down below. If you have any questions, if I didn't explain anything clear enough, I'll have no problem answering the comments down below. Any questions about any other topics on the game, please again ask in the comments. I love responding to viewers. I have no problem giving as much feedback and time to you as much as I can. So yeah, thanks again for watching. Hopefully I'll have another episode up in the week coming, maybe the week after, we'll see. I don't know whether I'll be able to get it out as fast as I have with the previous episodes, but I should be able to get them up sometime soon. I'm going to stop blabbering on, I'm going to end it here, and I shall see you in a video in the not so distant future.